Hello everyone, welcome to another card making episode on djsundry.blogspot.com. I'm doing this card as an entry to a challenge on gettingcricky.com for their super simple Saturday challenge or Sunday challenge. And the challenge this week is to make a card or another project featuring the colors orange and black, and you can use one other color. So let me show you what we're going to need, and then we'll get started on this card. I don't think it's going to be too difficult of a card, but the first thing that I wanted to show you is that I have this Tim Holtz compass mask, and it's just one of the mini masks, and I've taken that all off. I'm going to need some black cardstock. I've cut this piece at 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. I'm going to need a piece of orange cardstock, and the reason why I'll get that cut down to a card in just a few minutes, but I'm going to cut it in half this way, and I'm going to use that. I'm also going to use this orange Offray ribbon that I have purchased, and I just picked this up at Walmart, and I'm going to use that. I'm going to use some Perfect Bronze, Perfect Pearls, because it's almost the exact same color as the orange in my paper. And then the stamp set that I plan to use is Coffee and Tea for You and Me from Getting Cricky, from K. Andrew Designs on Getting Cricky. The other two items that I plan to use, I plan to use my Versamark pad, which is a clear pad, and then I'm going to use this Pueblo spray that I made on a previous video, and I'm going to use that as a mask. Now this also has some of the Perfect Bronze mixed into it for glitter. So the first thing that I need to do, because I want to get this drying, is I need my box so that I don't make a huge mess, and I'm going to make sure that my mask is adhered down really well, because I don't want paint getting underneath it. I've already punched out. The first time you use one of these masks, you have to be sure that you really punch out all the little pieces. Sometimes some of the little ones are left. And then I'm going to make sure it's really down good. And I'll set that in my box, shake up my spray. And then I'm just going to lightly mist that. And then we'll just let it dry. I could go back and blot it with a paper towel if I wanted to. And I probably actually will do that. I just have a Kleenex here. I don't have a paper towel. But I'm just going to lightly blot it so that I can pick up some of this orange that's just sitting on top of the black. Okay. And then we're going to let that dry. Now the mask is already starting to come up, so I might as well just peel that off. And it's just very, very subtle. I don't know if you can even see the compass that's sitting there. And for now, I'm just going to set that aside. I'm going for something very subtle here. So now that that's set aside, let's get working on the rest of our card. I want to make take another black piece of paper and make a small sentiment box. Let's see. I don't want it to be too big because I don't want it to overlap that compass, but I want it to be big enough that it will show our sentiment. So let's see, we'll make it 3 inches by, let's go by 1.5 inches. That'll be a good size for our sentiment box. Now I do want to corner around the edges of that just to make it a little more interesting. So we'll corner around that. And now I don't have a dryer sheet with me right now, and I don't know where my old thing for embossing powder is. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wipe that off. I don't know if it'll work as well with the Kleenex, but I just want to make sure that I don't have any too much static on there. And using the Versamark, I'm going to stamp my image. And what the stamps that I chose from the Candor Designs Coffee and Tea for You and Me say, "Have a great day." So I'll just center that right in the middle. Now you probably won't be able to see that on camera because it's just in Versamark. And Versamark, what that does is it creates a watermark. But another thing that Versamark does is it makes a nice holding powder, or holding for our Perfect Pearls. So I'm just going to tap down my pearls. And I don't have a lot of time to work with this, but I have enough that I can get the job done. I'm just going to take my brush. It doesn't take much. And I'm just going to go over the top here. And you should be able to see my phrase up here, right in the top. Isn't that pretty? It's just a nice glitter and shine. And that will do that. And then I'll go back with my tissue here and wipe off all the excess. And my Perfect Pearls will hold to the Versamark. It's very, very subtle. I think another thing that would be kind of fun on that, I've never tried this before, so we're trying it for the first time together here, but let's use almost a distress ink technique, only using the Versamark, to see how well that will pick up just a little bit of bronze around the edges. Like I said, I've never tried it, but there's a first time for everything, right? So let's just put this. It's picking up a little bit. I had a little bit of Perfect Pearls sitting here on my mat, but not quite enough. So I think it'll be kind of like distress ink and other inks like that, where you're just going to have a hint by the time I get the excess wiped off. But it should help that little phrase box stand out against that kind of splattery background that we created with the orange. Let's wipe off the excess. And I don't know how well you can see that, but it's just a little bit around the edges, just barely. It's enough just to add a little bit of detail, but not really enough that it jumps out and says, "Oh, look at me." So now what I want to do now, if you've never worked with Perfect Pearls before, you may not know, but all it takes to activate Perfect Pearls is a little bit of water. And if I use just a little bit of water on that, it will be permanent. And so I will just, whoops, wrong lid. So I will just set that aside to let it dry. Now it's curling up, but that's no problem. It will flatten right back out as it dries. And besides that, I plan to use a little bit of, I'll probably put it on some dots anyway, some foam dots, just to kind of give it some dimension. So now we're going to set that aside and work with the base of our card. Seems like a lot of steps, but it's really a fairly simple little card here. And definitely thinking outside of my normal box. I know that usually when you think of Halloween, or of orange and black, you think of Halloween. Or if you grew up in the small town in southern Colorado that I grew up in, Lamar, the public high school there, their colors were orange and black. So if you're like me and from Lamar, you might actually think of Lamar Savages, not Halloween. I don't know. So there's our card base. And I think just for a little bit of interest here, we will just corner around just these corners. I think I'm going to have to just break down at some point and get a corner chomper, because it's my paper's getting, or my chomper's getting a little bit used. Now let's pull our mask and see how it's doing here. It is almost completely dry, and will go nicely on the card. I think I also am going to want to corner around that. Whoops, not like that though. Does one layer far better than it does multiple layers. Okay. And that is going to go right there. But before we adhere that, one thing that I want to do is I want to get a piece of ribbon here and tie a bow. Now, I know I've mentioned before in other posts that Halloween just isn't really a holiday that I enjoy or celebrate at all. But I think this card is going to be a great card, and it's not really Halloween at all. Now, I'm covering up part of that mask, which is perfectly fine with me because it's, you know, it's more of the background effect that I wanted on the mask. And I think I'm going to come to this side and tie a nice big bow. I think I'm going to go up a little bit higher though, because I want my sentiment. Well, we can play with that in a minute. Now this paper is mostly dry, but not quite completely dry, so it's not as tough. That water kind of loosened it up a little bit, so it will become more stiff as it dries. Boy, I managed to get that all twisted. Let's see if I can untwist it. I don't think I'm going to actually tie a bow. I think I'm just going to do the little knot bow here. Okay. And just leave that like that. Now I may go back. We'll just see how it sticks. Because it's organdy, I have to be careful about putting anything underneath it that would show through. So I'm hoping I won't have to by the time I get it adhered to the card, but I may decide that I need to go back and put some stuff underneath it. Let's see, let's move that bow up just a little bit more. This is usually before I do a video, I have my cards very well planned exactly. Sometimes I've even made a faux one, and this one's kind of a new, something I just am kind of doing on the fly. So bear with me, but it's kind of a fun way to see how crazy my mind is, I guess. Okay, I think that's about where I want that. So we'll use the ATG adhesive. And I'm going right over the top of that ribbon, which will help that adhere down even a little bit more. And I think I'll put another strip right across the ribbon, which will also help that adhere. And then we'll center that on our card, just like that. There we go. And then the sentiment would go right there, or no, I kind of think, let's see if I can pull this off and without totally ruining my card. If I ruin the base, it's not a big deal because I can just make another base, but I don't want to go to the work of redoing the mask. I think I'm going to unhook this and actually slide it down on the bottom and not put a sentiment on the front at all. Just move this down. Yeah, I like that. And I don't care what the back of that looks like as long as the front looks good, right? Because no one will see the back except for you guys who watch the video. But I'm sure you won't tell, right? All right. Take 2 here. There we go. I like that. Kind of a masculine looking card. And it could be, it's because it just says have a great day, it could be used for anything. It could be a card of encouragement. It could be, you could, depending on what you wrote on the inside, you could say happy birthday, because that would kind of go, just whatever you want to say. So there's the inside. It says have a great day using that K. Andrew design stamp. And the outside is just simply a bow. I think I'm going to trim this off just a little bit shorter. This great ribbon. And there we go. There's our card. So this is getting entered in the Sunday, Super Sunday, or I can't remember. I'll put the exact name of it on the blog. Post at Getting Cricky. And thanks for watching. Have a great day.